Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Matthew Siegel. I am the president and executive director of the Lexington Arts and Crafts Society. And I'd like to welcome you all to our opening reception, virtual as it may be, of Free and Not a Slave, the legacy of Margaret Tulip. A collaboration between LexArt, LexSeeHer, and the Lexington Historical Society. I am thrilled to be able to host the show. For me, it helps me accomplish a number of goals, which I had for this year. First and foremost, to celebrate and recognize Black History Month. And it's fantastic, not just to recognize Black history in Massachusetts, but Black history here in the town of Lexington. And it's such a great opportunity to be able to do that. I also wanted to be able to offer the wonderful resource that we have, the newly renovated Molly Harding Nye Gallery, to other community organizations for their use. And I also wanted to support LexSeeHer and give them a platform to be able to promote their project to erect a monument in Lexington to recognize and highlight the contributions of women to the history of the town of Lexington. Well, thank you all. I just want to say that B.B. Fallick introduced me to the LexSeeHer organization, I think in about mid-2020. And I spoke to the group about what I thought would make a successful monument at the time. They had indicated the desire to have a monument erected, but they didn't yet know exactly what was going to constitute it. And I sort of followed them and tracked their progress, and just can't believe where they ended up. I'm so taken with a compelling story of Margaret Tulip, the woman who's going to be the primary. She's a primary figure in the monument that LexSeeHer would like to erect. I just thought it was an incredible story, and I invited LexSeeHer to come and to share the work that they had done with Lexington Historical Society here in the gallery. Thanks for listening to me, and I want to introduce Jessie Steigerwald, one of the co-curators of the exhibition. Jessie, you take it.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thumbs up if you can hear me. We had a little sound check in the beginning, thanks. But so glad that everyone is here joining us today. And we at LexSeeHer just want to first say our deep appreciation to LexArt, to Wayne, who's on the call, to Lori Hubentobler, to Chase, who helped set up this week, and especially to Matthew for really inviting basically a community organization to kind of take over this incredibly beautiful gallery. And thank you again also to Molly Nye and Joe for making this very beautifully lit, welcoming space right here in the heart of downtown Lexington, Massachusetts. We have three of us who have put the show together and an amazing researcher who you're going to get to hear from as well. And we thought as co-curators, we would just introduce ourselves, let you know why we got involved.
First of all, good afternoon. I want to also echo Jessie's gratitude to Matthew for making this space available. I'm not sure that even 4 weeks ago, we had any idea we'd be putting on what we call our amateur hour version of an exhibit in celebration of Margaret Tulip, but I couldn't be more excited nonetheless. My involvement really started in volunteering as one of several LexSeeHer advisors in our conversations about the possibility of having a monument project, one of whom, when we were talking about, happens to be Margaret Tulip. Little did I know that I'd be sitting in a space today actually trying to celebrate her and bring at least some sense of her, if not her voice, her images through the beautiful work of Lexington students. And that is really how I got involved, and could not be more pleased to be here in this first weekend, more or less, of Black History Month. And I'll be talking a little bit more later. Thank you.
And here's Amelia.
I first got involved with LexSeeHer when my friend Larry Freeman told me that he thought I'd be perfect for the research team. So I made the contact to Jessie, and once that connection was made, it was full steam ahead. And I have thoroughly enjoyed working with all the wonderful ladies that's on that committee. And I'm so glad to know that Lexington is working to tell the stories of Black women who were here, including the ones that were free and enslaved, because these stories are so important to understanding history. And thank you to everybody that made this day possible.
So as members of the LexSeeHer Advisory Board and Research Team, we've been asking ourselves a series of questions for weeks that we want you to get a chance to explore as well in the chat section. Questions we asked ourselves were, thinking about ourselves as kids, like what names come to our mind when you say 1700s, Revolutionary War, what were in the books when we were growing up that automatically certain names pop in our heads, if there are any. Who were the women, what names of women come to mind for this time period? And then more specifically, what Black women by name come to mind when you think of the 1700s? So it's not a quiz, it's for our own reflection as well. So we're gonna give you a couple minutes to just explore that in the chat section.
So we think the answers that on the research team we came up with were really varied, and it got us thinking about how important it is that while some of the women we're talking about today may not be as famous as Abigail Adams, they were really important, and we will definitely know their names now. And we're really glad as a community that we can share this experience. I want to just take a second and introduce the research woman who you'll hear from a little later. Leslie, if you wanted to share how you got involved.
I'm part of the steering committee, and we were assigning people to research the women that we were interested in around the monument. And Jessie asked if Margaret, and I said, I'd do it. And I had no idea that it would go on. I was researching this morning, so it's still going on. So.
It's great. And I also forgot to say, so for the show, I've been so excited. I'm really interested in history and art. And I think when you come down and see this exhibit for yourself, you may find it's really interesting, because what we are talking about is a big theme is representation of women, and women who we don't have pictures for, we don't have images of them. We have some information, and thanks to Leslie, we have quite a bit of information about Margaret Tulip. She was involved in a lawsuit, and Leslie later will be showing you some of the examples of the documents that were used in that lawsuit where she eventually won her freedom. And those court proceedings give us insight into the life of a woman in the 1760s and 1770s in a way that we don't have that kind of information about most of the women in Lexington at that time. All of this for us at LexSeeHer, as Matthew mentioned, is weaving into our vision of having a new monument to women. And Margaret will be one of the central 4 figures in that work. And there's several other Black women, and we will talk about that today. So right now we're going to talk a little bit about the dress you see over here. Today is its sort of official unveiling. It's a project called the Dress For Margaret. And then Celeste is going to share with us some amazing student work, and you will hear voices for some of the artists who created the work that you'll see here. And both the dress and the student work begin to help us imagine a little bit more about what Margaret may have looked like.
We were all learning a lot about the 1700s and the women that were here in Lexington. And the research team, which is the LexSeeHer team that I'm a part of, we're working, our work is just about that. We're learning more, and we're learning together. I also want to say that we appreciate the Lexington Historical Society for all of their work and the important items that they loaned us for this show. If there's anyone that's on today and wants to get involved with the research team, you can join us. Look in the chat bar and you'll find an email that will get you connected.
The monument project, and this show in particular, makes it very clear that Black women were here in Lexington and have been since its very beginning and founding. To us, Margaret represents Black women in the town from its earliest times, but also has some real connections and resonates in a lot of ways today around these questions of who is a citizen, who is a Lexingtonian, what do we think of when we say those kinds of terms. And as I will say in a couple of minutes as well, this idea of who is seen as a child, because childhood is a very pivotal theme, at least from me and my connection to her story. We obviously have some in the gallery, some exhibits that are not specifically connected to Margaret or Margaret's timeframe, and that's intentional. We want to have a timeline, if you will, of Black women you may or may not have heard of who have connections to Lexington's 1800s and beyond, abolition, and more recently as well. So for me, my particular focus, as I listened to Leslie, our historian, talk about Margaret's earliest beginnings, I think her first sentence that I actually heard her say was that she was a 3-week-old infant taken from her mother in Charlestown and put in the hands of her enslaver. And I think we all just stopped for a couple of minutes, and it's kind of hard to catch our collective breaths, but that image has stayed with me. And I said at that time, wow, it makes me think about who is, even in 2022, who do we think of when we say a child? Who is allowed to be a child? So the theme on the wall behind me, which is student art, is I too am a child. So students at the elementary level, with their own creativity, captured her both as an infant, in the arm of her mother, I should say, as a toddler, as a young girl. And I think in pretty moving ways. And then middle schoolers took up the call to depict her from their own imaginings of her later in life as an adult. So this is all the work of students and what came from their own energies and hearts, which I am very grateful for. So I believe we have students who are on this call who may have done some of the artwork. If any of them are comfortable in doing so and would like to share their own thinking behind their artwork, to say a couple of things, you are at this time invited to do so.
Hi.
Isaiah and Johanna, please.
Hi. This is Johanna. I did the painting of Katie Tulip, Margaret's mother. And I think I did it because, well, what I was thinking when I was doing it was how proud she must be. And that was what I was trying to capture inside of the painting, because she must have been really proud that she didn't really know where her daughter was. And then she was there as a very strong woman that made a really big difference in history. And I think that she was very proud of that.
Hi, I'm Isaiah, and I painted Margaret Tulip. I sketched Margaret Tulip as a child, as a toddler. And I think that as I was sketching, I thought about how brave and strong she was, because at a young age, she was captured. And I think that she is brave and strong. And as I was sketching, I thought about that.
To Sweta on this particular call?
So what I did was, first I made a sketch, and then I wanted to put it on good paper. So I went to the art room in my school. So I put it on this light box. So it's basically like a box, and light comes out of it, so you can trace the original sketch onto a different paper. And what I did after that, I used my markers. So I have like a lot of skin tones. So I use skin tones and I shaded with like the markers.
I was in awe and amazement when I saw the beautiful work that the students had done. And to think that at the different age ranges that they had all this in their minds as to what they thought Margaret looked like. And I just have to say that I was just totally in awe of the work that they did. Being on the research team, we had to do a lot of thinking about what Margaret might look like since we didn't have any pictures and we haven't been able to find any pictures of her. So we had to think about how we were going to come up with a way of portraying who Margaret was. So the first plan of action was that we had to come up with a historical appropriate dress. Corinne, Jessie's mother, was so grateful, was so generous that she volunteered to make the entire outfit. She hand sewed everything, and it took months and months and hours and days upon days for her to do all this work. And I am eternally grateful for all the work that she put into this. It actually took her through the summer and spring and summer to complete it. We had numerous fittings because I am the lucky recipient of being able to put on this beautiful outfit. So I feel very proud of that. And I feel like when I put that outfit on, that I can feel Margaret's spirit in me. So back in the 1700s, there weren't any sewing machines. So Margaret sewed all of the clothes for herself and for her family. And every dress that a woman got, it was made to fit that particular woman. So there was no department stores or anything where they could get order dresses. They were made particularly just for them. So some of the choices that I helped make was choosing what color I thought Margaret might like. And I decided upon the blue and white stripe for the dress. And I feel like it came out perfect. And I feel like Margaret would really have enjoyed that dress. Everything that Corinne made, we all as a team had to make a decision. It came down to whether it was the bonnet or if it was the apron. Everything that went into the beautiful, I can't, it is behind me. Everything that went into this beautiful outfit, decisions had to be made about what was going to. Jessie's going to show you.
Go ahead, you can go.
When you come to LexArt, you can see both a hat and a bonnet. And you also see the stays and the mitts that were made. And ladies, if you haven't seen stays, you need to check on stays. It's very interesting. I wasn't sure what stays were, but I found out quickly what they were. The apron that's on the dress, that apron, I wanted it to be nice and white. I wanted Margaret to be presented as a decent, free Black woman. And I wanted her to look like she was either going to church on Sunday or she was celebrating her victory from her lawsuit in the court. Margaret was she was a free woman. People don't think of Blacks as being human. She was a human being and a free woman. And the Dress for Margaret represents this. So I hope those who are watching will come over to the LexArt this month to see this work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amelia. There's been so much collaboration in bringing forward more information about Margaret. And as I mentioned at the beginning, there's been a lot of research. And so, wanna come this way?
Yeah.
Sorry for all the little chatting while we're arranging ourselves. We wish you were all here in person in a normal gallery opening, but the space is beautiful and you're going to get to see all of it. So I'm going to introduce you back over to Leslie, who's going to share a little bit about the research. But Leslie's going to be back in 2 weeks for a full talk about this.
Margaret Tulip was born in Charlestown around 1718. And as it's been discussed before, she was literally given away to a family in, this was basically want to cry, given away to a family in Woburn. That family sold her to a brother for a 2-year-old colt. She stayed with that family for quite a while. And when the daughter of that family married, she became a wedding present. And she lived with Amos Muzzy and Esther Green Muzzy. Margaret was what's called in term slavery, which meant that she was to be released at the age of 22. Her mother was also under term slavery, and she was supposed to be released at 33, though I cannot find her. So when Amos died, Margaret was well past 22, but we believe that's when she took her freedom, when she said, okay, I'm a free woman. And what I find really interesting is that there are people who knew this in town, and there are people who thought she should be freed, and there are people who thought she shouldn't be freed. When Amos died, she had several years of being a mom, doing mom things, doing whatever she did. But in 1767, Amos's son, William, kidnapped her and re-enslaved her. And so she was able to get support from the Bridge family, and she filed suit in April of 67, and the sheriff was sent out to remove her from William's house, which they did. And she went to court first in May 1768 and lost. She appealed to she was in an inferior court, then she went to superior court in October of 1768 and she won. William Muzzy appealed that. And so in 1770, they went back to court and she won again. And William Muzzy died, and that was the end of that. So personally, I think it's very significant that William Muzzy's brother and mother were still living, and neither one of them were called as a witness to support him. So these are some documents that I've pulled up for this exhibit, and probably the most interesting are these two, this one and the one behind it. And this is a deposition by Jacob Green, who was the person that received Margaret when she was 3 weeks old. And in this part of the deposition, which was done in March 1768, what he says is she was supposed to be released at the age of 22. Till the said child should arrive to the age of 22 years and no longer. Go to the other side, what happens is in October 1768, a few months later, the same Jacob Green says that he sold her to be as a slave for life. So he lived in Connecticut and people were going down getting depositions from him. I think there was a lot of push and pull, and unfortunately she was a commodity, and as was her son, who was working for William Muzzy. I don't know what else to say.
Well, there's a lot more to the story. If you come back on February 16th, the Wednesday, then Leslie will be sharing, and you can come down for yourself and take a look at some of, these are not the original documents, but these are some of the documents that Leslie said dug out in her research. Do you want to just hold up the judgment? I think.
The judgment. Okay.
And we'll do more of this in that talk so that people can hear it.
Yeah, so this is the judgment, and it says, Margaret appellant versus Muzzy Appealee, the jury find that the said Margaret, and from the time mentioned in the writ, has been a free woman and not a slave, and that the appellee is guilty of taking and defaming her as she complains. We further find for the appellant £4 money damages and costs.
And Leslie, we're so grateful.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's the digging
It's
that's
been an honor.
it's been an incredible journey for everyone to learn about this. So in terms of community collaboration, I have a short video from Carol Ward, which I'll try to pull up, but I do want to just give people a quick look at the space so that you'll know. Lexington Historical Society has been an incredible partner for LexSeeHer, and we have on loan a couple of really special treasures that help us think about Margaret's life. So in here, is it showing up? This is a flame stitched pocket, and Amelia talked a bit about all the different kinds of caps and bonnets. Pockets were worn by women under their gown, under their petticoat, where they could keep their treasures, their special small things, kind of like a pocket book that we eventually developed. And so that is a real authentic period piece, an extremely rare and special piece. And then also over here, we've showed you Kate before, beautiful work from Johanna. And then we have it paired here with Kate looking at Amos. And this is Amos Muzzy. And when you come back on February 16th, we'll have a longer conversation with Leslie and probably with Stacy Frazier to talk more about this really interesting portrait. This is William's brother Amos and Amos Sr.'s son Amos. In this time period, there's a lot of paternal and maternal same naming. So this is Amos, and we will talk about this relationship. You know, we wonder, did Margaret's mother know where she went? Did Kate know that Margaret ended up in Lexington? And what kind of relationships were there between Amos and his brother? Leslie, I think, will tell you more about who did and didn't give depositions. And as I said earlier, we're really thinking at LexSeeHer about how we represent women for whom we don't have pictures. So Amos has a pretty formal portrait. And then we have some other special works from the society here that talk about the art of silhouette. And we can talk in that next talk a little bit about the work of contemporary artist Kara Walker, who's used traditional silhouettes to try to express more of the extreme challenges of slavery and the pain and the suffering. And then we know that in terms of silhouettes, for those who've been following LexSeeHer, Girl Scout Troop 66265 really got us started with our first representations in our logo, but then in the exquisite 2021 Women's Visibility banners that lined Massachusetts Avenue. And if you come down, you can see some of those banners for yourself, and you can learn more about their work. The other really special treasure that's here is an apron, and we will talk more about this over the month. But LexSeeHer is launching an apron project to help make Margaret and other women from the 1700s visible. We'll be doing this all year long. Well, we're hoping we reach our goal by August 31st, which will be the next spinning reenactment. But as you come into the gallery each week, you will hear another story, you'll see another story, and each apron will represent one woman, because we're starting with the Black women, whether free or enslaved, who lived in Lexington, who are the least visible. So you will be able to follow us on social media with Tied to Her Apron Strings. That's our apron project. And we really appreciate the society sharing this apron, which is from later, but we'll be talking about how this Tied to Her Apron Strings, aprons were a functional work of clothing, and then they also became decorative. Probably some of you listening have your own aprons at home. Still a useful item. So we really thank the society. While I'm here, the other part of the exhibit is about Mary Elizabeth Bibb. And I'll give a quick highlight. We would love to have people come down and see this themselves. Margaret was here for more than 75 years. She was here a long time. She was a mother and a grandmother. Mary Elizabeth Bibb was a free Black woman. Her family was in Rhode Island, and she was only here for about a year in Lexington. But she was one of the first women at the state-funded public normal school that was a teacher's college. And you can learn much more about that at the exhibit. We are so fortunate, thanks to Lauren Kennedy, we have a desk from the normal school, as it was called. And Mary Elizabeth Bibb, we don't know, but she was only here a short time, but her tie to Lexington was very significant in her life because she left here after being at the normal school. She went on and became a teacher. She taught in Boston and Albany, New York, and Cincinnati, Ohio. And then she met and fell in love with a escaped slave named Henry Bibb. And when the 1850 Fugitive Slave Act passed, she and Henry became refugees in Canada. And when they were there, they started a newspaper called Voice of the Fugitive. She was not only a journalist and publisher working with her husband on that newspaper, and there's some work that she wrote in there and signed. Historians now believe she probably wrote some of the work that was attributed to editor as well. But not only did she that, she also opened schools, some of the first schools to integrate Black and white people in Canada, students. And we have some beautiful student work here too, representing their newspaper and representing Mary Elizabeth Bibb hard at work. She also, with Henry, was a convention organizer. They were both obviously abolitionists who were working very hard to end slavery. And the newspaper is available online. They're pretty incredible. And we'll get those links out on social media so people can find them. But we invite people when you come in to share your answers. What do you want to learn about Black women's history? And you'll be able to share those in this book as a community, and we'll share them out. We really want to welcome people to come in and see all parts of this and share their comments and questions. We're still learning. One of our big questions is about, who belongs and whose story should be told, and how can we tell that story as a community? So the more we can collaborate, the better. So Meredith is here listening today, and I'll just share a couple pictures. We're not putting you on the spot, Meredith, but we're extremely excited that you're here. And that is going to be one of Lexington's most exciting collaborations we imagine of all. So if you come in, you'll be able to see some early sketches that Meredith has done. It's early in the process. It's hard to see here. You can also visit LexSeeHer.com. And Mary Elizabeth Bibb is represented. Margaret is one of the 4 central figures. And there's 2 fronts for this special design, that's a gate. There's more than 20 women included. And Mary Elizabeth and Margaret are 2 of the Black women, but Sylvia Farrell Jones, actually, I'll just show you her quickly from our banner project. Sylvia Farrell Jones was nominated by a community member, and Phoebe Bannister Burdue. And then there's also a representation that's more abstract that represents a mother and child being separated. So Meredith, we're really glad to be able to share your work as well.
We don't put you on the spot, Meredith, but if you're welcome to say a couple of words, if you would like.
Thank you. This is so exciting. What a wonderful exhibition, and I'm very eager to come see it. There's so much information here and just so much energy and spirit represented that I'm really overjoyed. So thank you. It's very inspiring. I'm going to have to go soon, but I'm just so happy to have seen this, and I look forward to the exhibition. Thank you.
Meredith's work obviously includes Margaret and other important Black women in the monument. And we're going to have some other times to hear from Meredith and her proposed project. So we're just glad she had a chance to say a quick hello and introduce herself. I think we have time if anyone wants to ask a quick question before we close out our tour. So I see questions about what part of town did Margaret live in? So we'll start there.
Okay, so can people see this map? What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the video from the Historical Society while we get the map ready. And this is from Carol Ward, Executive Director, amazing partner for us.
Hey everyone, this is Carol. I'm the director of the Lexington Historical Society. I want to say a huge thank you to LexSeeHer and LexArt for including us in this amazing collaborative exhibition. I'm sorry I couldn't be live on the Zoom today. I'm actually down in New York planning some exciting new things for the Society. Huge shout out to our staff member Stacy Frazier, who helped co-curate the exhibition with LexSeeHer, Jessie Steigerwald for always including us in all these amazing projects. And especially during Black History Month, this project is so, so important as we honor and celebrate the Black Lexingtonian women of the 18th and 19th century. Hope to see you guys soon, and thank you again so much.
Try to explain. The Buckman's property and the Muzzy property abutted each other. And yeah, right there. So Margaret lived in this area. When I'm trying to figure out where William lived, and I think he may have lived somewhere behind the library, but I'm still working on that.
Yes, okay, we see a question about making sure that Margaret and other Black women would be represented respectfully. We did a national call to artists last spring, in spring 2020, and we received wonderful submissions from prominent and skilled artists. We originally imagined, based on some other works, that we might have 1 or 2 women or maybe 3 women, and that for us, it felt that Margaret Tulip was central and critical because Lexington has so much focus on the 1770 period, understandably, because of our significant role as the birthplace of American liberty. So Margaret felt to us like someone who had to pursue her own battle for liberty, and that Black people, including people who served under Captain Parker, represented only by the one boulder, the Prince Estabrook boulder, which we really value and we're glad it's there, but we felt women had to be included. So we looked among the artists who submitted for a proposal that would be inclusive and that would also be beautiful and respectful and help people understand how real these women were. They're not an idea, they're people. And Meredith's submission not only made space for multiple women, but also her work, including her depiction of Phyllis Wheatley on Commonwealth Avenue in the Boston Women's Memorial, and her representation of Sojourner Truth in Central Park in New York, and earlier works that she had done really stood out to us on the steering committee and to our board of advisors, which has 17 people on it, for being beautiful, realistic, expressive, emotionally engaging. And her detail around clothing, frankly, really stood out to us because we knew in Lexington, with such a strong and important reenactment community, we wanted things to be historically accurate. And to the question, the design, we were so happy, meant that we could include not just one woman, and we could include multiple Black women. So as I mentioned earlier, Margaret Tulip is central to this work that we're doing and is central in the gate. You'll be able to touch and kind of hold her hand as you walk up to the work. But also the way that Meredith has worked with us around community members who are no longer living or died more recently, her process is to work with real live models and to develop a relationship with the people that she's going to depict. And those things all, for us, meant that it was going to be dignified and beautiful. So if there's any other questions, we're here. We're just so incredibly excited to see people turn out. Black History Month, you know, originally in America, there was Black History Week, and it took an act of Congress to make it Black History Month. And part of what we're so excited about with LexSeeHer is that by working on this monument project, we are going to be able to recognize and memorialize, celebrate, and see Black women in a prominent place in America and in our community. And we really encourage people to get involved. You can visit us at LexSeeHer.com. You can come back Wednesday, February 16th for more information about Margaret. And there's also other historians. I want to acknowledge Anne Grady's work, Margaret Michelet's work, and we'll hear more about Mary Keenan, who's done amazing historical work, Pat Costello, who's secretly here in the in this space, who has been a go-to person for me. I'm really struggling with a specific fact because we have people way ahead of us who have spent years picturing what life was actually like in this very special community on a daily basis. What was it like for a woman? She woke up in the morning, then what? What did she eat for breakfast? How many chickens did she have? What kind of chores did she do? What did she wear? So we're thrilled to be able to work in collaboration with Lexington Historical Society and now with LexArt and with all of you. I would be remiss in not saying a huge thank you as well to all of the people on the call who are part of our steering committee. There's been 12 of us standing shoulder to shoulder since March 2020. And we're getting closer to presenting to the Lexington Select Board to seek their formal approval. This is a privately funded monument. There's no money being spent by the town. We do have a new fundraising goal. We would welcome people to contribute $1, whatever they can do to be part of this. It will be a gift to the town of Lexington and frankly, to America and the world. And we would love to have you work with us on the research team or as any way that you would like to get involved. We're going to turn it back over to just say a quick thank you and goodbye with my co-curators.
Thank you so much for joining our call today, and I hope to see you on February 16th.
Thank you, everyone. And I hope you are as excited as I am to get a more expansive view of what we think of as known history here in Lexington. And I look forward to seeing you, I hope, in other venues as well. Thanks for coming.
And we're just going to turn it back over to Matthew, our very gracious host, and everyone at LexSeeHer. I saw Molly and I across the screen. Molly, thank you, and Joe for this incredible gallery space, and everyone at LexArt for making this a home for us.
Thanks, Jessie. Yeah, thank you, everybody, for coming out and attending, and you all did a fantastic job. And I want to say that we're going to do it again next year. We're going to continue the story again next February. Again, thank you, everyone, for joining us, and please come see the show. All right, bye-bye.